We are sitting here in the month of May, and if you are somebody thinking about a master's degree abroad, there is one big question that will be meandering in your mind at this point in time. Should I apply for the spring intake, which starts sooner in January of 2026, or should I wait a little longer and apply for the fall intake, which is going to start in August of 2026? A lot of you might have heard some of these statements. Spring intakes are easier to get into. Spring means there's a greater likelihood of a visa rejection. You won't get an internship if you enter in the spring. Scholarships are less likely if you apply in the spring. Well, are any of these statements true? Should they form a basis of your decision? Probably not, but there are very critical factors you have to consider, which I'll be covering in this video, which is as usual with Gradvine, no nonsense, accurate and well-informed information. So what is the spring intake and what is the fall intake? Well, fall is your traditional start of the academic year in the US. Most schools and colleges in the US start off in August or September of that particular year, just like schools in India start in June typically. Since this is the traditional start of the application year, pretty much every university offers a fall intake. Certain universities have a middle of the year start, which is called the spring intake, where the semester or your education starts in January. Therefore, you're starting one semester later than the typical fall entry candidate. And while you take the same courses, when you take them and when you graduate is going to vary. That's the basic difference between the two. Now, coming to the statements which are actually myths that have no basis. Number one, the assumption that spring entries are easier than the fall. Well, the basis of this assumption is that there are simply less number of people applying for the spring. Usually, what we've seen is if there are 100 people applying for a fall intake, less than 25 apply for a spring intake. Therefore, one assumes that the competition is less and the likelihood of getting in is higher. That is not the case because the number of spots available for a typical spring intake are also lesser. Therefore, the available seats versus the number of applying candidates sort of evens out. The likelihood of getting in has no difference whether you're applying for spring or fall. So don't let that myth play on your mind. Second assumption, the likelihood of a visa rejection is going to be much higher in the spring. Now, this is a myth that has been floating around for a number of years. There is no basis for this statement because the likelihood of your visa getting accepted or rejected is dependent largely on the kind of university that you go to, how you're going to pay for it, its relevance to your undergraduate education, and also the ties to your home country. If you want a greater detailed explanation about the reasons for visa rejection, we've done a video which you can access by clicking right here. Now, on the basis of what I've told you, whether you're applying in the spring or the fall, your likelihood of getting the visa doesn't change. It is far more dependent on the university and the program that you're going to. Alright, we're going to take a little bit of a breather here. If you are considering either the fall intake or the spring intake, we've done dedicated timeline videos where we explain what aspect of the application process has to be done in which month, so that you submit your applications well in time and crack your dream admit. The links to this video are going to pop up somewhere here on the screen, so please click on it and go ahead. Additionally, you can do two things if you want to consult with us directly. Number one, we have free and open WhatsApp groups where fellow applicants such as yourself and the Gradvine team, including me, are answering questions every day. You can join these WhatsApp groups for absolutely free. If you want a more personalized consultation, whether you have to pick the spring or the fall for your case, or even understand what program is the best fit for you, what country you should go to, and advise on the application process, you can schedule a free consultation call on www.gradvine.com or by using the link that has been provided in the description of this video. Third myth, it is less likely that you will get a scholarship if you're going for the spring intake. This is absolutely false as well because scholarships depend on two major factors. Number one, it is your profile overall and whether you're much stronger than the competing applicant pool. Second, it is the availability of funds for that university during that academic year. Universities do not make that distinction on scholarship allocation, whether the student is coming in the fall or the spring. It really depends on the amount of funding the department has and whether you're deemed good enough to get into it. At Gradvine, we've seen students get high scholarships when they apply both in the spring and the fall. The intake does not matter. Number four, you cannot get an internship if you go in the spring. Now, this is not completely a myth, but it is also very largely false. Let me explain the logic behind this. In order for you to do an internship in the US while you're studying at an American university, you need to get the CPT. CPTs can be activated only after you finish 2 semesters or 9 months of education at an American university. Now, if you start in the spring, which is January, by the time the summer comes along in the months of May, June and July, you will still have finished only 1 semester of education. Therefore, you cannot get that CPT for the summer internship. Once you finish 2 semesters and your CPT can be activated, it will be the next fall, and that's when you can look for an internship. Therefore, it's not like you cannot do an internship if you join in the spring. It is just that you will not be able to, due to the visa rules, do an internship during that summer period where most internships are available, because you do not satisfy the criteria. Now, some universities like Carnegie Mellon, and these are very few, have taken special permissions where you can do the CPT after a semester of education. But by and large, for most universities, that summer internship is not going to be possible, but you can do an internship later in the year. Alright, so I've sort of busted 4 myths, or 3.5 myths if you count the last one as half a bust overall. But does that mean that the spring is the ideal intake? Why would you want to wait 6 months? You can go straight away. Well, not really. Here is some food for thought. Like I mentioned right at the beginning of this video, fall is the traditional start of the academic year, and every university and every program will by and large have a fall intake. Not every university has a spring intake. Therefore, the number of options that you have to choose from automatically reduce. There is going to be a good chance that there is a dream program or an ideal program for your career aspirations where you fit the bill and the university fits the bill for you, and you really should attend it for your career growth, but it simply may not have a spring intake. Therefore, fall just has a broader number of opportunities overall and a larger opportunity pool for you to choose from. In my opinion, when you're making such a massive decision, such as going abroad and spending so much on your education, you would like to have all the options open for you and not compromise. Now, that being said, if you have any personal timelines and a time crunch, which means that you have to go for the spring intake, then you don't have to worry about all the other myths in terms of internships, scholarships, visa rejections come in your way. If you find the right university that makes sense for you, you can apply, and if you get in, you can absolutely go without any fear. But this is the compromise you will be making by not looking at the fall. This is us being completely transparent.